Welcome back, football fans. In this one, we are going to be taking a look at BTTS in the first half, BTTS in the second half, and I'm going to show you a few different methods for finding teams that consistently see this outcome achieved. Now, this is also a good time to introduce a brand new trends page on OddAlerts.com. All of this will be linked in the description if you want to go and check it out right now. I'm recording this in February, but it doesn't really matter when you're viewing this. Hopefully you can take value from this regardless of when you come across it. So BTTS in the second half, we can see we've got an Australian game, of course. Perth Glory, it has happened in 8 out of 9 games. The odds are 2.5. You can click this button here and you'll see the trends menu. And I'll just quickly show you that the BTTS first half page is also a thing. And again, you know, the top performing teams, the odds are not there pre-game for the majority of them, but it doesn't mean you stop your research there. I will take a look at some of these games, and again, as you're watching, just try and detach the game with the advice. I'll try and keep it generic in terms of what I would look out for if I was approaching this market and looking for games that would consistently see BTTS landing in the first half or second half. Now, what I will say as well is that it's quite a high risk, obviously high reward, given some of the odds, 3.75 here, 4s, 5s in this game at the bottom, if you can see that. So high risk, high reward, but I do have to mention, because I always mention on this channel, you can lower the risk. So these shortlists on the trends pages can be a good intro into the game, but you might then just set an alert for first half goals in general. You might set an alert for the halftime result. Every game is different. And the trends pages, which is the first method you can use to find BTTS first half and second half, is just one way of finding those games and one way of entering the game. So BTTS second half, what can you do with this? Would you take that? I mean, for me, BTTS in the second half is certainly, I think, more likely than the first half. Just because naturally there's more goals in the second halves of games, there's more cards. The first 10-15 minutes, okay. Granted, there's some under-19 leagues and some crazy leagues and, you know, Belarusian women's leagues that just have goals as soon as the whistle goes, as soon as the first minute is underway. But I believe the majority of leagues, you're going to get an edgy first 10-15 minutes, especially depending on the time of the season. And as I say, recording this in February, we're getting into the business end of the season for the majority of European leagues. So one market that I think plays nicely with this, again, just using it as an entry point, would be half with most goals. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the Perth Glory game. So 18 games played, both teams not doing amazingly, to be fair, 0.67 points per game, minus 19 goal difference for Western United. If we toggle the home form and the away form, slightly better for the home team and just as bad for the away team. So let's look at the timing data. They've scored just 3 goals in the first half, both of these teams. And for Western United, they're just pretty terrible, aren't they? They've scored 5 second-half goals at home, but Perth certainly scoring more goals in that second half, 12 compared to 3. So whilst we entered this game on from the BTTS second half, I wouldn't back Western United for anything, to be honest, at the moment, given their data. They're just not very good. BTTS in the second half for Perth is 89%. That is the stat that you saw on the trends page. That is what all of the teams are ranked by on that specific trends page. Now, every single away game has seen a second half goal being scored. Every single away game has seen over 1 second half goal being scored. So, as I said before, half with most goals, given the poor scoring form of Western United. Let's have a look at the odds here. And we can go to the odds comparison. Highest scoring half, second half, you're going to get evens, which is usually the case for these markets. That's why I like them as well. You're not relying on both teams scoring. You're not even relying on a couple of goals. If the first half is 0-0 and the second half is 1-0, edgy, you know, and then you're not relying on either team either, you know, you just need a goal, or you just need more goals in the second half. I know it sounds obvious, but I just believe it's less risk and the odds are still quite nice at evens and usually just over evens or just under evens, depending on the game, depending on the circumstance. And as we can see here, this one is floating around evens as low as 1.87. with Tipico. So that was BTTS first half and second half. That is one way you can find them. What I'm going to do now is show you a new feature on OddAlerts, which is tied into the Telegram bot. So give me a second and I will show you that. Welcome, this is the OddAlerts bot. You can add it on Telegram at OddAlerts bot, all one word, all lowercase. And something that launched recently is this trends command. So you can at any time request trends on demand right to your phone. And let's go with BTTS second half, shall we? And we should see a collection of games. We've got a game here in the Indian I-League, odds 3.25, and that has happened in 50% of games for the home team, 57% of games for the away team. Derby County Charlton, 3.4. You can see we've got a good collection of games here, and just to show you as well some of the other markets, I've added a few new markets today. Most goals in the second half, we can click on that as well, and we get, again, a nice collection of games with the odds over evens. It will give you the percentage for the actual outcome, so how many times did this actually happen. You can see it's just under 70% for Southend, and for the away team 53%. The odds are over evens here, over evens here. And yeah, this is trends on demand, and you can get this by just connecting to the bot. It's at OddAlerts bot, all one word, all lowercase, and I hope you enjoy it, and please provide feedback. Now, another way to find fixtures that might be geared towards BTTS in the first half and second half is quick filters. And if you've not watched any of my videos before, just to reiterate, I'm doing this off the top of my head. You know, this was a comment on a YouTube video, and I think it's the best way to do it, just for me to jump on, and this is how I would start to explore, because nobody has all the answers straight away. That's one of the most important things about the whole sort of betting journey, is to test and you know, if you want to download the CSV data, it's actually at the top of the screen there. You can click that and download all of the probability model for 2023, and then you can, you know, quite quickly and easily, if you're familiar with Excel, formulate some profitable models that you can then use on the value bets page or just in general. So what we can do in terms of the rules is actually apply a rule for BTTS first half, shall we? And we can set this for both teams, let's say 50% or more. We'll save that for both teams, and we'll just hit search, and we get no games for today. This is a Tuesday. We'll do next 5 days, no games. So again, you have to take this one down. If we just take off one of the teams, BTTS first half percentage, 50% is quite high, isn't it? Let's do 33% for the away team, and then we start to get some games. So 33%, and again, this is why it's better to do this off the cuff than research and tweak and everything. I just think it feels a bit more authentic, and hopefully you can learn as I learn. So the only rule we've got at the minute is that the away team has seen BTTS in the first half, landing in 33% of games. Now, we might also want to add some rules for the home team, that they regularly concede a goal at home. So they've conceded in 80% of all home games. And then we'll also add a rule, because this is for first half goals. Let's add conceded in the first half, again at home, and we will put this to, let's put it to 50% of games, and we'll just hit search and see what we get back. So we have narrowed it down, and again, this is the next 5 days, so this is a decent shortlist to potentially investigate further. And what I'll do as well, if you're watching this video now, I will share this list and put it in the description, so you can check out this shortlist. It'll just load exactly like this, and we'll check out a couple of these games live on the video now, and I'll talk you through what I see, what potential outcomes we could see, and how we can potentially profit from these games, whether it's through the alerts or whether it's through pre-match. As always, add your comments, and by the way, the previous winner from the last video is now up on screen. Thank you for commenting in the previous video. If you want to be in with a chance to win OddAlerts Pro from this video, all you've got to do is comment. Just give me a bit of feedback. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of the filter. Have I missed some rule? I'm sure I have. There's so many rules and potential things that you can add. I'll just show you when I scroll down here. This is what you're working with. And for all of these items, you can apply it to the last 5 home games, the last 6 home games, the last 10 overall. So you've got a lot to work with and a lot to sort of test, if you will. Now, this is the PDL in England, the first game, and this is a great league for BTTS, to be fair, and certainly for the alerts, because a lot of the markets are not there before kickoff because they don't want to offer them, to be honest, and it's quite obvious why they don't want to offer them, because it's highly likely. So let's start by looking at the data, and just 5 goals scored away for Hull City's under 21s. Let's have a look at their results quickly. Away from home, they've only played 5 games and they've lost 3 of those. They've only scored in a couple of those games. The previous game, in fact the previous few games, have been filled with goals, haven't they? If we look at the goals tab for a second, we go to overall and we look at the last 10 games, 4.3 on average for Hull City. There hasn't been a 0-0 between these two teams in that time. Clean sheet in just 1 of the last 10 for both of these teams when looking at the last 10 games. So you would expect goals in this game, and I haven't looked at Sheffield Wednesday yet, but I imagine they are the better team. They've only lost 3 games at home. They've only lost 4 games since the start of September. Head-to-head, 5-2 in the previous fixture. So it looks like the home team actually does score more in the second half, although it is close. They've scored 7 first half goals, 0.64, compared to 10, 0.91 in the second half. Always, if you're just working with averages, it can be skewed by a single game here or there. So always scroll down and take a look at these occurrences, because as you can see now, we discover that Hull City has seen a first half goal in every single game they've played away from home, and every single second half as well. So a half in both goals, a goal in both halves. If we toggle this to overall, it still stays at 93% for the first half goal and 100% for the second half goal as well. So if we go to overall for Sheffield Wednesday, it is 80% and 90%. So plenty of goals, certainly in recent times, for both of these teams. So an interesting market here, and again, this is how you might set your filter for BTTS first half, second half, but you can lower the risk in certain ways, and one of these ways is this market right here. Over 1.5 second half goals, 1.55 with Marathon and 1xBet. For the first half, it's actually evens for a couple of goals. I would, in that case, I would take the Asian line, so you get a refund if there is just the one. But again, you could take that in play. BTTS in the first half, let's have a look at the odds there. 3.10 peak. For the second half, 2.25. So again, this is a nice way to just check all of the markets that are available. BTTS is available with a few bookmakers as high as 1.47, not available with Bet365. But as I mentioned, it will become available. Now, to set an alert on this, we just find it in this alerts tab. And first half goals as well. Let me know if that hits 1.8, and I'll take a look at that. BTTS, let me know if that hits 1.8, and I will take a look at that as well. I think in terms of pre-match, I do quite like the over 1.5 second half goals for this one, but it would be as part of a double, 1.55 of course. And this game is from Friday. We'll take a look at this one and then we'll wrap up. So this game is from Turkey, this next game, and we can see, if we're looking at the home form and the away form, there has been a first half goal in 92% of games for the home side, 86% for the away side, 85% for the second half, and 57%. So there is a drop there in terms of the away team. I've not taken a look at any other stats, I've just come straight to the timing tab here. So in terms of scoring, second half, just 36% away from home in terms of goals scored in the second half for that away team. These are as I said before, these are the things you should be looking at, the occurrences, because averages, if a team scored 4 in a game where, the keeper got injured or there was a red card after 5 minutes, this, 4-0 up at half time, it can happen. It's going to skew the averages, so it's always so important to look at the occurrences and see what actually happened. So BTTS second half, given the low percentage for the away team here in terms of scoring, I would not touch it, to be honest. And we're just going to look at our filter again just to see what we were filtering for. So BTTS in the first half, 33%. So this one actually looks good for BTTS, but if you look at the recent results, especially those first half goals. They played Fenerbahce, fair enough. That's obviously going to be a tough game for the majority of teams in this division. But before that, 1-1 at half-time, 2-0 at half-time, 1-1 at half-time, 1-0, 2-2. So a good record in recent times of scoring first half goals. If we look at their home form, they've lost 4 home games. They've scored in the majority of games. And for the away team, they actually come into this in pretty good form. Good defensive form as well. Away from home, their form has not been as good. Just 2 wins since the end of October. Quite like BTTS here and first half goals. 1.62 for BTTS generally. We can set an alert for that one. BTTS in the first half is 4s with Bet365, and we can just go again and check how many times that's actually happened. BTTS in the first half, 31% at home this season for the home team and 29%. In the last 5 games, though, it's 60%. In the last 10, it's 40 and 30. I think BTTS second half is a market that I feel more comfortable with. But the away team, as we see here, they've scored 0.57 goals per second half away from home. So these are the things you've got to look at in terms of actually scoring a second half goal, 57% of games. So you wouldn't put BTTS on, would you? I like this one for the first half goal, and I like it for BTTS in general. So maybe you can make a double with that. BTTS here is 1.62. But again, you know, if you're watching this video in the future, hopefully you've still found value. Let me know what you think about these markets. Do you agree with me that BTTS first half is kind of unnecessarily too much risk? That's just how I see it. If you can find a winning formula, if you can create the right filters, trigger the right alerts if you want to play the alerts as well. You can do back testing on OddAlerts as well. Just go to the filters page and you can see the peak odds and what you might have entered the game at and how much profit that would have returned as well. Until the next video, thank you very much. Remember, if you want to enter the draw for OddAlerts Pro, just leave a comment. And if you do, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.